15 minutes.
Thank you very much, Richard. When Willie took the platform, he said he was out of his comfort zone. Willie, I'm 100 times worse than you. I don't even have a comfort zone as I stand here. To start off, I would like to just spend a minute and acknowledge my co-author, but also say a little bit more about the introduction. We are part of the Research and Development Unit of PPECB. It's a two-man team at the moment. It's myself and Wandile, who is here in the audience. And the PPECB Research and Development has always been an integral part of the PPECB. We are asked questions about regime codes and how we can change regime codes, and all that requires some scientific input and also some research to be done. So that is what we do, and these are our contact details. I'm just introducing us to the team. In terms of the topic at hand, PPECB publishes annually the Schedule 1 or HP22 document, which is a document that is used by exporters to populate necessary information for booking containers. This document has numerous regime codes, and it has products and target. It has regime codes for various products and also target markets. Of interest associated with the regime code is a particular loadout temperature for the product. These loadout temperatures are also contained in several PPECB documents, including the Q22 and Q25. Just to highlight a few, those I'm going to be speaking about. For apples, the loadout temperature ranges between minus 1.5 and 3 degrees Celsius. For pears, that range is a bit smaller, it's 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius. And for us as PPECB, our role is to monitor that product is loaded at these correct temperatures. Should you be out of these tolerances, PPECB will reject the fruit or reject the container. I then want to report about what we have seen for 2022 and 2023 in terms of the loadout temperatures. The first graph I want to show you is one that looks at the average monthly loadout temperatures for apples. When I present this graph, on the x-axis is the months and on the y-axis is the temperature. I want to say three things about the graph. Firstly, there's not a big story between 2022 and 2023. Secondly, the temperatures between both years were ranging between 0 and 1, which is way within the tolerance. But is that the true story? So I then re-looked at this data, but this time I looked at the quantity of apples that were loaded above 3 degrees Celsius for the both years. And here we get a bit of a story that looks a bit different. For January and February, we are seeing that 2023 had slightly more pallets of apples loaded above 3 degrees Celsius, whereas when you come to April and March, it was almost similar. And in May, there's a big difference, particularly because I started doing the data before the end of May. So the May is not a true reflection of what happened. So when you compress the data again to 2022 and 2023, we are seeing that between 2022 and 2023, there was actually a 3% increase if I look at January to April, the first quarter of the year, and excluding May, because May is unfair for 2023, because 2023 I only had half of the data. But if you look at that, you see that there was about a 3% increase in apples loaded out above 3 degrees Celsius. I then want to move over to the pears. The pears also have a similar story to the apples. When you look at the average monthly loadout temperatures, there's no story between the two. But also you are seeing that on average, you are getting loadout temperatures between 0 and 1. But when you look at the amount of pears loaded out above 2 degrees Celsius, you also have a story to tell. In this graph, again, the orange graph shows 2023, while the blue bars are for 2022. Here again, we are seeing a similar picture where there's slightly more pears loaded out above 3 degrees Celsius in 2023 compared to 2022, except for April and May. Again, if you compress the data to what happened in 2022 and 2023, you are seeing almost like a 20% increase, but it's starting from a low base, which is also what I want to which I want to show in this slide. In this slide, what we are seeing is that while there was a 3% increase in pears, in fact, 95% of the pears were loaded out at the correct temperature. It was less than 5% that were out of protocol or out of tolerance. In pears, it was even worse. 99% were within tolerance. It's only about 1% that were out of protocol. So, what can we conclude from the data that was shared? Firstly, is that, of course, monthly temperatures do not share a story for me. And that is simply because when you pull the average figures, you are able to cancel out the higher load-out temperatures because 95% of the fruit was within temperature. So that clearly canceled out the warmer fruit that was loaded out. However, the results become a little bit more pronounced when you look at the volumes that were loaded out, because we're loaded out of tolerance. Here we're starting to see differences between 2022 and 2023. Indeed, 2023 seems to be slightly worse than 2022. And then the question is, how is this allowed? Because in my first statement in the introduction, I said if the product is loaded above those temperatures, the tolerance, we reject it. But we do have a small gateway as PPECB, and that is a dispensation. So what happened is we had found some exporters, when they started struggling with this, one exporter would apply, another one would apply, and another one would apply for a dispensation. And then we decided to ask the industry to be the one that applies for the dispensation. And they applied for a dispensation with PPECB granted, and therefore that is why we're able to load fruit that has a temperature higher than what is normally prescribed. We are talking about load shedding, and to me, what this data starts to tell me is that even though not highly significant or not highly prominent, but cold rooms are starting to struggle a bit with maintaining and cooling fruit to the right temperature for load out. And we suspect that load shedding could be the reason why some cold rooms are struggling. However, on the same vein, I would like to echo the words of Richard and say I commend the contingency plans that cold rooms have implemented, because those have allowed them that even though they are facing this headwind, they are still able, on average every month, to load out fruit that is at the right temperature. So well done to yourselves as cold rooms, and you have helped maintain the right temperature for the fruit. The one thing that is missing in my talk is I don't report on the quality of the fruit because I only report on the temperature. But I don't know what happened to that 5%, whether there was any material impact on fruit quality, I don't know. And ladies and gentlemen, that's my story. Thank you for your attention.